Hi, I'm Jack, and welcome back to Real Opinions, and today I'm going to be reviewing Imperium, which stars Daniel Radcliffe. Basically, the way that I've been calling this film, because it's the way that anyone that knows about it is sort of remembering it. Harry Potter and the Grand Wizard. Daniel Radcliffe is an FBI analyst who wants to really make a change in the world, and when very dangerous material in his local area goes missing, and someone at the FBI base suspects home terrorism, he kind of jumps on the case of being able to go behind the scenes and actually make a difference. I didn't go into this expecting much, to be honest. I remembered the trailer, isn't that I just remembered the shots of him walking in the march, and that was about it. But yeah, I didn't really go in with any expectations, and I ended up relatively liking this film, and I think they did a lot of things well where I didn't expect it to. That's what, I think it's more that I liked it more because it was a lot more surprising than I expected it to be, and just because even though there were some things that it didn't do as well, it was the ideas were there, which I found was interesting. So I'll go through what I liked, what I didn't like. So the main positive for me is that it wasn't just Nazis evil. Like, it's neo-Nazis, but it was really interesting in that it is based on a true story. How much so, do not know. I know I can never really tell with these how much it is fabricated and how much it isn't, but I'm willing to take everything with a bit of truth and a pinch of salt. But it really focuses on how he kind of joins this organisation, and you know how it is with every kind of FBI informant mobster story. He gets in and then he meets the mobsters' families, and the families are really lovely and all of that, and it's very much the same here. It's a bit more extreme because it is Nazis, like, as in, it's almost a bit comical how much they push it in the beginning, because he goes to this family and the mum brings out a tray of cupcakes, and the cupcakes have swastikas on them, which is like something out of a skit more than real life. And so that's the kind of stuff that I feel like is a bit too far. If it is too real, it's kind of just too stupid to be real. But yeah, so when you see that kind of stuff, you think, oh, okay, so they're just going to be all shown as, they're either shown as thugs or these perfect people. And honestly, it kind of did like quite a good example of saying, like, not only showing that these people, even though they are extremists, they are real people too, and also it showed the degrees of which you could be a white supremacist, which I didn't like. When you think of the term, you just think that they are all the same. But it was really interesting how it focused a lot on the bureaucracy of it, which sounds even more like a skit, in that they're arguing about which organisation should go where in the rally because of how much they've put into the community and stuff like that. And that kind of stuff, it just made me feel like that at its best bits is where it personally just felt to me like a Louis Theroux, like, Weird Weekends documentary, like, where it's just kind of like a case study of these people. And again, even though I know that it's probably not 100% real, I've seen enough of those kind of documentaries to know that there are a lot of strange people, and I feel like there is some. I just found it interesting that how different levels of these societies work, and how they're kind of, you think that, oh, since they're all kind of banding together for a common cause, they're all going to be with each other, but no, there's still infighting about really petty squabbles and stuff like that, and they're not all one way or they're not all the other. They still do fall into stereotypes though. I mean, there is one central character for Daniel Radcliffe, who's basically, Daniel Radcliffe is a analyst, so he's more of the techie side, more of the smart side, and so he's a bit of an outcast at the FBI because he's just quiet, he's an introvert. There's a scene where basically just the scene that establishes his character is that he goes home, drinks wine, and reads a book. I mean, that's basically just sets him up as nerd. And then there is a nerd, like, family man Nazi who he also gets along with, and he feels so Americana perfect that it's kind of hurts a little to watch, because they're so perfect, and then also it's the Nazi thing, so you're like, okay, so you're gonna either end up being, no, so you know, like, just from saying it up, if it's all these horrible Nazis, and then he's like the really, really nice one. I mean, you've seen like Toy Story 3. I mean, you know how plot twists work roughly. It's a really weird film to compare it to, but I think a lot of people got the gist with that. And yeah, and then there's just so it's got this really interesting concept of showing a society which you don't see in film, because, you know, they're bad. They're definitely bad, but you don't really get to see that in film, and so I found that very interesting, that it was something that I'd never really get to see before. The bits that did flop were the bits that I'd seen 100 times before. So the typical undercover cop story, everything is the same. I never felt like and again, it's based on a true story, so I know that you can't twist it too much, but he never felt like he really got in too deep into it. Yeah, and I know with some of the best FBI informant or whatever stories is that they have to seep into this world and they have to do the dirty work in order to get accepted. And it never felt like he really did anything to like properly push himself. I mean, they show him getting a tattoo in the trailer, so that kind of sets him up as if he's permanently like marking himself. Oh, that's like a serious thing. There are other stuff later on, but he kind of navigates his way around it, and it never really gets like awful. Like, you never really feel like he's done anything that to himself is irredeemable, which I always find very interesting with those kind of stories. Yeah, because it even says on the poster, defend your nation, become your enemy. But I mean, really, I know it's just marketing, but it's a very simplistic way of putting it, because one, he doesn't really do anything to attack the country, and then two, even though the people are attacking the country, again, a lot of the focus is on how they just want to, in their mind, bring together the nation. And so it's quite, I just find that stuff really interesting. A lot of the execution was quite good. I mean, I quite liked a lot of the shots were nice, editing fine, except for these aggravating montages where he's like learning about white supremacy, and so he's on his laptop looking up all this stuff about white supremacy, and it's the stock images on the screen. It's not even stock video, it's stock photos, and then there's like talking going like, oh, like news reports going, white supremacists kill person, they're becoming, and it's not even like, they don't even use specific news stories. They'd use the clips like they're becoming a menace. Like they use like the clips where you can take it out of context, and so they felt like in a film where I was enjoying it, when you get to this like 15-20 minute mark, you just feel like, oh, okay, you're lazy. It was lazy. It's stock images. It's not even stock video. I mean, they go to stock video at one point, they change up the style, but it's just I hate whenever they put that stuff in, because it was a perfectly fine film, and it could have just done perfectly fine with him just looking at the laptop. And you know what white supremacists are. You are not an idiot. Even though I just said that I don't know that much about this world, I've been on Google before. Google Images. I don't need to get the Google Images search put up on the screen for me. I'm not that dumb. And even if you just say to the person, Nazi, there you go, that's the problem solved. You know what it's about, and so it doesn't fulfill informing the audience, it doesn't fulfill making the film better, because it's just like a roadblock. We need to kill some time in this film, let's pad it out with stock footage, which they do, I think like 4 different times. It's 4 different times as well, which really peeves me off, because it's like, I'm censoring myself on a channel where I don't need to. I don't know why. And it's because he also has like flashbacks of information, like not like Chuck or anything like that, but like he just has like, keeps flashing back to like whenever he's in a panicked mode or something like that, which still is lazy. I mean, they're trying to make it more of an emotional thing as opposed to just information, but it's just padding out, and there's no reason for it. Actually, one thing that I do want to bring up, the kind of final act happens very quickly. Like, not just, well, the act itself is kind of like, it's the act, it's like it's setting up for something, and then it turns out the setting up was the final act. If that doesn't make sense unless you've watched the film, but it's suddenly like you think that this thing is leading up to a big final event, and then it turns out that the leading up is the event, and so it's kind of strange where you have to stick to the true life, I suppose, but it's maybe I think that's not so much as a problem with the story, in that if it is the natural ending of the story, focus more on the build-up to that natural ending and not make it feel like you've suddenly been sideswiped with a sudden ending, because you want to feel like, I don't know, especially in these things where it's about two like characters that are getting to know each other and he's pretending the whole time, and it's kind of because it's a character crescendo as well as a plot one, and it kind of felt like neither of those, they kind of slipped and they didn't quite match, and so it didn't feel as much of a punch at the end of it as it could have, regardless of whether or not they were sticking to true life. But yeah, I'd say that the strongest part of this film was what it was tackling, because it's, again, something I'd never really seen properly in film. I liked that they talked about the issues. That sounds really bad. I liked that they talked about their ideals. You're not going to get many films, at least, that take neo-Nazis sort of seriously. And even though you were never at any point meant to think that they were in the right, they said it felt like they were giving their arguments, as in it actually felt like they were trying to give a compelling argument. Sort of. That makes it sound like it's condoning it. there's a mixture of points in the film. So there are these kind of conspiracy theory-ish points that some of them make. So I think they look at like a bottle of Heinz ketchup or say something like that, and they say like, look at this symbol. I think it's like a health code symbol or that like that, and they say, oh, it's the Jew tax. It's the Jew tax because they get away with all of this. And that stuff is kind of interesting, as it's kind of like the fun, stupid, like that's the points where you go, that's stupid. It is conspiracy theory. And then they do other points where like they kind of get a bit theological, like biological, which never really make you put onto your side. Like you're never on their side, obviously, but it's enough to make you at least like it's enough to make you not completely dismiss them straight away, in that it shows that they aren't just mindless idiots. It shows that they actually do put thought into their concepts, and despite them being morally wrong, I feel like I liked that it didn't all show them as mindless, and I liked that it showed that I'm gonna go on a personal bit there. I kind of felt like that was more of a hopeful way to present it, because if you just showed them as mindlessly hating people, then you're just kind of saying that these people are bad, there are bad people in the world, get over it. But if you present them as people that are trying to make their own logical arguments with the information that they have, it shows that they're reasonable in some ways and that they can be talked to and that you can talk out problems, which is what I think is the way to solve problems. And so I liked that. I felt that even though this was about trying to stop a terrorist plot, I thought it was quite hopeful for how you can talk to people to, I don't know, maybe that's just my interpretation of it. Another thing in the opposite way is that they also do show that the people that are protesting the white supremacists, they show them as the more, or not more, but as thuggish as the people that are the white supremacists. And I really liked that side as well, because it's not saying that the white supremacists were in the right, or feel bad for them. It's showing that violence is stupid on both sides, and again it was just showing that even though you don't disagree with someone, if they are peacefully stating their mind, which they were doing a peaceful protest, then just resorting to violence doesn't help anything, and it just makes everything worse. And is an interesting message, an interesting way to portray it from the other side of the fence, essentially. But being interesting in nature does not make it a good film. It does not make it a great film. I enjoyed it. I thought there were a lot of mistakes. Thought it could have been a lot better without those montages or semi-crap ending. 6/7. Yeah.